Archives of Prasar Bharati presents the timeless treasure of golden era.
And such are the legends that make the Naga Semas. From the interiors of Nagaland in the northeast of India, and from a land peopled by 16 major tribes, with melodic names such as Angami, Ao, Chaksang, Konyak, and many more, come the Naga Semas. The Sema Nagas have had hundreds of years of tradition as warriors and headhunters until the 1930s, when Christian missionaries wandered deep into the state. Today, they are all church-going people. But if we go into the hinterlands of Nagaland, we can still catch a few glimpses of their past. Before Christian missionaries came into Nagaland, the Nagas believed in a doctrine that attributed spirits to surrounding inanimate objects and to natural phenomena. Being animists, they believed that these spirits regulated human destiny and as such were entitled to obedience and worship. And headhunting, one of their most ritualistic practice, was a method to show their respects for the spirits. Headhunting was propelled by the desire to acquire a head for retention in one's house or village, which would as a result be blessed with human and animal fertility. They believed that a person's soul was in the nape of their neck, and to set the soul free, it was necessary to cut off the head. With the heads of their enemies kept as trophies, the Sema Nagas used to gain the reputation of being fierce warriors and being skilled in the art of war.
During his father's time, some Semas were killed by the Sangtam people, Imchungar. So they went, all the Semas collected together, they went to take revenge. They went walking on foot for 3 days, and on the 4th day they attacked Pangsa village, and they killed so many of them. They brought 3 heads, and they brought here. There was one big tree, so there they hang the heads, and they kill the pig, and they celebrate.
It was this practice of headhunting that has over the centuries influenced and given shape to almost every aspect of the Sema Naga life, from their dances to costumes to song, as well as many of their customs and traditions. It can be seen in their weaving, which is an essential part of the woman's life. Weaving is an art that every woman learns from her elders and passes on to the younger generation. The traditional Naga way of weaving is quite primitive. A few simple tools are used in the whole process, and almost every home has a loin loom. Over the centuries, the Sema Nagas have developed patterns that represent a number of occasions and events. But today, many modern colors and patterns have been incorporated. In the olden times, the rich Sema Nagas used to wear a shawl called the avikipi. It could be worn only by someone who offered a feast of merit by killing a mithra. It is a white shawl with 9 white bands woven at regular intervals. Then there is the Atsudakupi or the warrior shawl that could be worn only by those who had got heads during a head hunting mission.
This shawl is called Atsudapi, and this shawl is been worn only by the distinguished people of the village. And this round things are the sign of star, sun, and moon. And this is the sign of the warrior dress. And this shawl can be worn only by those people who have killed tiger, lion, and wild animals, and who had gone to the war.
Such was the importance of weaving that even folk songs were composed on it. Songs like the Aye Kuzule depicts the entire process of weaving and also invokes their forefathers and traditional gods to bless them. The Nagas are not a composite people, but the cultural traditions of the Nagas include features which are common to all the tribes. There is no caste system amongst the Nagas, but each of the Naga tribes is divided into several clans which are mainly based on forefathers or other such things. Amongst the Sema Nagas, there are as many as 20 clans. Being warriors in the olden times, they had their villages on the highest points of the hill ranges to provide them with a good view of any advancing threat. Today, these same villages have become more concrete, but still found on hilltops. Each village is a congregation of units called as Khel, with each Khel occupied by a single clan. In the days gone by, the Sema Nagas lived in a long hall-type house, which was in most cases decorated by skulls of animals, signifying the valor and strength of the man who lived there. Normally made of wood, these houses had no real partition, but the areas of sitting, eating, storing, and sleeping were fixed. What was also an important part of the village were its granaries. In the olden times, they were built slightly away from the house in a safe area, so that in case of a fire or attack, the food supply would be safe. That practice is still followed. A majority of the Semas rear pigs and chickens in their homes. They are also known as expert honey collectors, and they have an old and ancient way of collecting honey. The Sema Naga life is becoming modern, and it is rare to find people like this old man from the interiors, who was probably one of the last to go on a headhunting mission, who over the years has kept many old things from his past as a reminder of those old days. Once a part of every house in the village, these things have in most cases simply disappeared. But one of the few things that have remained constant in a Sema Naga life is the collection of daos or swords. Daos are the most versatile weapons that are used expertly by men and women for practically everything. In the early animistic days, the Sema Nagas used to believe in medicine men they would go to if any calamity befell them.
It's a good sign.
Today, though modern medicine has come in, the belief in what they say is still there.
Supposing somebody is sick, I came to ask him to perform the ritual. So both the faces are it's in the same position. So this shows that the person who is sick will die. So no need to take either hand or pick to the field and worship the spirit. So this is the sign.
Once, their daily life was governed by an ancient and customary code of law. There used to be a village chief called the Kukami, who was the sole decisive person. Today, that has been replaced by the village council, with the Kukami or the Gaon Bara becoming the elective chairman, with around 11 members, all of whom are elected by the people. Agriculture is the mainstay of the Sema Naga, and they predominantly practice jhum cultivation. Jhuming is the practice of clearing forest land for cultivation, after which the land is left empty to let the soil become fertile until the land reaches a stage when it can once again be cultivated. And it is during this activity that one can still see the marked community and cooperative spirit that the Sema Nagas have. Most of the times, the entire village manpower gets mobilized. The Sema Naga has limited time to devote to art forms, which can be seen only in the decoration of their dress, their weapons, and sometimes in their basketry. Baskets are made using bamboo or cane, and the making of baskets are exclusively the preserve of the menfolk. The Sema Naga, like other traditional tribes, have their own jewelry, like the achiku for women and the achikula for the men. In the olden times, ritual dances played a very important part, especially after a victory over an enemy village. These dances have today become a part of their heritage. The most symbolic are the war dances. In the olden days, after coming back victorious from a war, the Sema Nagas used to perform these dances in their villages. And in this dance, Contempt for the enemies is shown by thumping the feet of the dancers on the ground. This dance is noted for its fast and complex footwork of vertical and side leaps. The thrust is given to the dance by the war cries throughout the song. The Sema Nagas are believers in a number of legends and myths. While some are in story forms, many are in songs that have been passed and are still sung in these modern times. One such legend is about their special kinship with the tiger and the leopard, and their belief in a twin soul relationship with them. The past history of the Semas have also given rise to a number of indigenous sports. Games such as the Angakipsa or spear kicking arose from the time when the warriors had to jump the pointed fence of their enemy's village. Today it has become a favorite sport of the Sema Naga youth, while the puka is played mainly by the women. Life in Nagaland is replete with festivals throughout the year, as all the tribes have their own festivals which they greatly cherish. For the Sema Naga, the most important festival is the Tuluni, celebrated in the month of July. A traditional Sema Naga feast giver's home was known by the horns on his roof. The ritual of feast giving is an important part of their ethos. In order to enhance one's social prestige, a person had to give a series of feasts to his village community over a period of time. The Sema Nagas have a strict code when it comes to matters of food. Their food consists of rice or millet accompanied by vegetables, fish and meat. Some of their most important dishes include avoshi made of pork, akibiye made of yam and wild leaves, akuzu or gravy, a chicken curry called aushikulo, and a beef dish called amshikulo. And when it comes to the staple drink, in the olden days it was the rice beer in 3 different forms, akuputsu, akiza, and the mildly fermented beer called the aziko. Today, like the other things, even the rice beer is slowly fading out. The Sema Nagas are patrilineal and patriarchal. Marriages done by the Christian way, as a rule, take place outside the clan, though this norm has been often violated. The last 2 decades have brought a sea change amongst the Sema Nagas. A string of colleges and hospitals have been built, and state transport vehicles ply over a network of roads. Nagaland now has radio and television transmitting stations, and its government and private enterprise have embarked upon tea cultivation and the manufacture of paper, sugar and liquor based on local raw materials. The modern industrial culture has overtaken the past. Education and development have made inroads into the state mainly due to the works undertaken by the Ministry of Tribal Affairs. The caves and hollows of their mountain habitat continue to resound with the sound of their songs and the powerful stamping beat of their earth-shaking dances. Today, the ring of the church bells have replaced the resonance of the village drums and ballads by pop music in the Naga hills. Traditional folk songs, poetic love songs, gospel songs and modern pop tune go hand in hand. But the best of the old have not disappeared with the onset of the new. The Nagas are infused with a long-standing pride in their own creative talents, and this spirit is a great incentive to the Naga people to keep alive the beauty and vitality of their craftsmanship and life, a living tradition for all time.